Hey guys, Canadian Range Nut here. It is Friday, May the 13th, 2022. If you hear some weird noises, I'm just driving in my car here. But I thought I would do another podcast type of episode here. So if you don't like the fact that there's no video, you might want to turn this off now. If you want to listen while you're doing something, then feel free. But I was just wondering, what is the reason that you guys originally got into guns? And please put those obviously down into the comments. I'm very, very curious. As for me, I used to be a very anti-gun type of person. I used to didn't watch a lot of news, but every time something happened, I would always kind of go off what the mainstream news was telling me. So very anti-gun before, after the Columbine shooting, following all these other mass shootings like at Sandy Hook and stuff like that. Never really bothered to do a lot of research into the area of guns, but I just kind of believed what was told to me through the mainstream news like CNN and, CBC, ABC, all that kind of stuff. And I remember thinking, no one ever needs a gun. I remember watching Bowling for Columbine, Michael Moore's movie, and thinking to myself, yeah, this guy's right. Charlton Heston, this guy's an idiot, and just the way, again, I was about 22, I think, at the time when that movie came out, and just the way they made him look in that movie. If you don't know who Charlton Heston was, he was a big-time actor. He was also the head of the NRA, National Rifle Association in the USA. And his common line was at the end of all of his speeches at an NRA convention, he would always hold up his rifle and say, "From my cold, dead hands," very iconic character. He actually played Moses in the Ten Commandments. So anyway, I'm getting off track here. But so what's your reason for getting into guns? I know I used to be very anti-gun. Like I said, Sandy Hook, Columbine, watching everything that came out of Hollywood. Guns are dangerous. Guns killed people all the time. Guns are a huge issue. We need to ban guns. This is all you're hearing through the news media constantly. And let's admit it, like the liberal side of the political spectrum controls most of the media that is out there, unless you live in a very conservative state or a province or a very Republican type of state in the U.S. Like I know in Canada, people who live in Alberta, Saskatchewan, they out west tend to obviously like their guns a lot more than people from where I'm from in Ontario do. I remember having a conversation with my cousin. It wasn't even a conversation. It was actually a post that I made on Facebook. It was a joke about somebody breaking into somebody's house and somebody getting shot, and then my cousin piping in saying, "Oh, nobody needs a gun in the first place." And it was pretty funny because actually somebody from the U.S. had said, "I like your comment, but you're wrong," right? And her response to that was, "Well, why am I wrong?" She just couldn't see the fact that there's a whole group of us out there who believe in our guns and believe we should have the right to have a gun. And even deeper in the States, it's actually in your Second Amendment, which I wish we had in Canada, because Canada, our laws are very strict here. I don't know if you know what it takes to get a firearm here. I know obviously if you're listening to this podcast in Canada, but if you're in the States and you don't know what the laws are in Canada it's pretty difficult to get a gun here. You have to there's two different types of licenses if you want to restricted or non-restricted. I'll do another video of that at some point, going into more detail. But basically in Canada, you have to go through a criminal reference check every single day. So if something pops up on you, the RCMP is notified, and they're basically coming to check out what's going on, what crime may have been committed if you own guns. So the laws are very, very strict here. Which not only that, we're not even allowed in Canada to practice home defense. If somebody breaks into our house here and they put our family at risk, if we injure them or even kill them if we had to, we get arrested. Like, we have to prove that we used reasonable force. Now, what is reasonable force? Well, who knows? It depends on, what the judge says, right? So, yeah, I kind of wish we had a Second Amendment in Canada like you guys have down there in the States. But anyway, part of my story is, again, I used to be very anti-gun. Didn't think anybody needed it. I had shot a couple at the range, thought they were cool. But again, I was like, too much can go wrong. Look at all the shootings that happen in the States. Then when 2020 hit, a lot of my views really changed because, we were staying at home more. I had more time to watch different news sources, alternative news sources. And kind of the story for me where I flipped my view from anti-gun to now pro-gun, and now starting a YouTube channel called Canadian Range Nut. It's quite a vast difference there. I can remember in 2020 when the BLM riots were going on in the States, and after the whole George Floyd thing happened, and I just remember what the hell is going on? There were riots every night going on. Buildings being burnt down. And I remember how crazy it was. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if you guys remember the McCloskeys, the lawyer from St. Louis and his wife. They lived if you don't know the background of that, they were, I think he was a lawyer. I don't know what she did. I can't really remember, but they lived in a gated community. Now in Canada, if you've never been out into the States, I don't think we have any in Canada, but I could be wrong there. Gated community is basically you have to enter, you have to have a code. There's a guard who lets you in, all that kind of stuff. Well, during the BLM protests and riots, there had been a few weeks of buildings burning down and stuff like that. All of a sudden, this big group of BLM protesters decided to tear down the fence of this gated community in St. Louis where the McCloskeys lived, and they had a ton of money. We're talking a huge house here. And, they had their drums beating, and they had, everybody doing their BLM chants and stuff like that. And I just remember thinking, what the hell is going on here? Why is nobody stopping these guys? And I remember McCloskey having his, I think it was his AR-15, just standing on his porch, and just standing out there, and his wife had her little pistol in her hand. And guess what happened? The protesters bypassed their house, and they didn't do anything. And that moment kind of made me realize, oh, okay, I guess I understand why we should have the right to bear arms. And it also made me understand, too, why we probably, why we should have more than 5-round capability in each magazine. That kind of spelled it out for me. Obviously, 2020 was a new precedent, and obviously that risk was always there. But I never really thought of gun rights in terms of, oh yeah, if a mob comes to your house, the cops are not going to come there in time, and even if they do, are they going to be able to stop them? That basically woke me up to the fact that we should all have, we all have the right to own a gun. Obviously, if you have a mental illness and stuff like that, then yeah, there should, in my opinion, you should still have a background check. Obviously, if you're suicidal or, you're at risk to others, then yeah, you shouldn't be allowed to have one. But again, that was the incident that kind of flipped the switch, really flipped the switch for me, and really made me more conservative-minded. And I just started to, it actually took me on a huge political journey as well. It made me read more on the history of the U.S., the history of Canada, why we don't have gun rights in Canada, and why the States, why it's ingrained in the the culture of the U.S. And it really gave me a new appreciation for that. So anyway, what is your reason for getting into guns? Are you in the States, and is it you just grew up like that? Maybe did you hunt with your dad, or whoever you hunted with? Did you just go to the range? Did you do it for home defense? What about you guys in Canada? What's your reasons for owning a gun? Again, I know we're not supposed to do it for home defense here, but did you buy one for home defense? Did you get one just to go to the range? Another part of what kind of convinced me to finally take my PAL as well in Canada, my position and acquisition license is what it's called here. Excuse me. is I was playing the video game Red Dead Redemption 2. Sounds kind of stupid, but I already had the background interest of getting my PAL in the first place. Then it got delayed for a year from, all the crap going on in 2020, all the lockdowns and stuff like that. Then I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and I was hunting in the video game. They had a realistic depiction of Western rifles and handguns and stuff. And if you don't know what Red Dead Redemption 2 is, it's basically a cowboy video game where you go on all these missions and basically you are an outlaw in it, but there is an actual good story. But the attention to detail in the game is incredible. And I think Hickok45 even on his YouTube channel, he actually ended up reviewing some of the guns that are that were used in Red Dead Redemption 2. So it really piqued my interest, and that's basically where I was like, I had a choice. I could have either taken my PAL, excuse me, talking a lot here. I could have either gotten my PAL in August of that year. I could have waited till November of the same year, and I finally just pulled the trigger, no pun intended, because I was afraid we were going to go into another lockdown. I didn't want it to get delayed anymore. And so that's basically how I got my license and how I became basically a true gun nut. I have to say, the first gun I bought was a Glock 44, 22 caliber. And it's funny because, when you buy your first gun, you're so nervous. You're like, oh man, what am I going to spend my money on? I don't know if this is going to be the right one. Then you buy one, and then you're like, oh, no, sorry. You know what? I'm wrong. That wasn't the first one I purchased. The first one I purchased was actually a Mossberg Maverick 88 20 gauge, because a lot of recommendations were like, a shotgun is more versatile. You can use many different types of ammo, that type of thing. Then I went for the Glock 44 for the restricted handgun, which they are restricted in Canada. If you don't know what restricted in Canada means, it basically means that you wait, you could wait 2 weeks to 8 weeks. When you purchase the handgun, before you can even take possession of it, you have to buy it off the store. They have to go to the RCMP and get what's called a transfer of approval. And the handgun has to then go into your name. Once you get that certificate of approval, then you can take possession of the handgun. Not only that, it's restricted in the fact of where you can take it. So if you have a restricted handgun in Canada, the only place you are allowed to take it has to stay in your house. And you can only take it from your house to the range, and it has to be the most direct route to the range, and then straight back to your house. You are not even allowed to stop for a coffee or anything. It could be locked in the trunk, whatever. So that's how strict Canada is with restricted firearms. It has to be trigger locked, and it has to be in a case and all that kind of stuff. So the laws here are very, very strict. Now, if you have an unrestricted gun, it can be in a case. It doesn't even have to technically be locked. Doesn't even need a trigger lock. So that's what they mean by unrestricted. So anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here again. But again, what's your reason for getting into guns? Because again, put it in the comments down below. I'm really curious to see why people love their guns. And like I said before, I used to be anti-gun, and I didn't understand why people in the U.S. would have or even people in Canada. I'd be like, well, what do you need 5 guns for? What do you need 12? Why do you have, this guy has 3 other guns? This guy must be crazy. Once I got my first gun, though, I have to tell you, I can't stop now. So I got the Mossberg 88. I got the Glock 44. Then I got the Henry lever action, the classic. It's a 22 caliber, which is a beautiful rifle. And then I was like, oh man, I want to participate in some IPSC style competition. And if you don't know what IPSC is, it's basically it's kind of like a gun obstacle course. And they time you how fast your shots are, how accurate they are, and stuff like that. Anyway, I wanted to get into that, so I was like, oh, how do I get into that? So then I read one of the websites. They're like, oh, you need a 9mm gun. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm buying a 9mm handgun. that's when I went with the CZ P10F, and I do have a video of my unboxing for that one. I haven't shot it yet though, but I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, so I'm just saying, I get the obsession now, and it was funny because even 2 weeks ago I got I think it was from True North. I can't remember the name of the store. It was I think it was a gun company in Barrie, Ontario, and they had the Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum on for sale. It was like regular 1,300 Canadian or whatever, and they had it on sale for like $900, and I was just like, oh man, I don't really need that gun, and it's really tight on the budget right now, but I gotta get that gun. And I'm talking to the wife, I'm like, do you think I should get this? She's like, well, do you really need it? Is it that much of a sale? And I'm just like, well, I don't need it, but for like a $350 savings, that's pretty big. So finally, when I was about to pull the trigger on getting that one, it was the 6-inch barrel, by the way, I remember. And I was about to buy it. I waited one more day and the sale went down. I was like, oh man. But anyway, so for all you gun lovers out there, I get the obsession. You don't stop. Like once you get one, it's like an itch, and you gotta, you just see all the new guns that are being released, or the best is when there's a nice sale going on. You're like, oh, I gotta buy that one too. So anyway, that's all. I'm gonna end the podcast there for today. I want to know, why did you guys get into guns? What kept you there? Were you anti-gun? Were you pro-gun all your life? Just write in the comments there. I'm just curious to know what my audience is like, and it creates a good discussion for everybody. So please remember to like and subscribe if you like this video, and don't mind the ambulance driving by right now. But please remember to like and subscribe. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. And thanks a lot, guys. Canadian Range Nut, and see you later.